and welcome to the Tech Titans Talk podcast. Today we've got Jonathan Franklin, who is an expert innovator. Hello, Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Spencer. Lovely to be with you.
Tell me about yourself, Jonathan.
How long do you want? 30, 40 years experience now in big data and AI, moving from the oil and gas industry into the energy sector. Then doing all sorts of stuff in health tech and health development, AI, machine learning, connectivity, product development. The world seems to change every week now these days, doesn't it, Spencer? It's all about fundamentally trying to absorb what's coming next.
So, in my little black book, you are the person that I go to often to talk about innovation, especially what's happening in the UK economy, ever since you sat next to Keir at an Arsenal football match. So what's your take with what's going on in the world and the UK right now? Where do you see things going?
I think we're in a really interesting period at the moment because we've got a government that's settling into power in the UK. We've got obviously big political changes going on in the United States. The US economy traditionally has what goes on here, or we're fractionally ahead of it. Massive political change going on throughout Europe. And blended with that, we have the AI revolution that seems to be just bubbling away a bit below the surface, ready for investment. Some organizations are getting investment, some others are not. Then we have the big elephant in the room, which is sustainability and green tech. And if I'm looking at the UK, I think we're going to get a very announcement very soon. I think the bottom line is, if you look at what we're seeing as being spearheaded, the Chancellor's announcements at the end of October, and where we're going to have to go as an economy. In the UK, the government will consistently turn around and say, we need to get growth, we need to build the economy, we need to stretch growth. So how do we build that growth? And the only way we build that growth is through innovation. And so my view is we will see fundamentally I'm pretty sure we're going to see a large pot of money parked for innovation. Fundamentally, the UK government can't really grow the economy without innovation. That, coupled with their announcement on GB Energy to be based in Aberdeen as one of their big expansions of economic development.
Oh, because the Scottish like to innovate, don't they?
Sorry?
The Scottish like to innovate.
Well, they do. I mean, they've been world leaders at innovation, actually, the Scots. But fundamentally, you're starting to see we've got to try with leverages to innovation. I mean, green and sustainability piece, okay, I'd say is the biggest leverage that possibly since the Industrial Revolution that we've had to really innovate and actually change the way we use technology and develop new ways of using technology. And that pot of money Gigi has, it'll steer amounts of innovation around it. So I think we're in a really interesting time. I think we're at a crossroads. Artificial intelligence doesn't stand alone because it has an enabler, and I think that's sustainability and the development of sustainable technologies. And I think UK, as Prime Minister, I'd be moving that pot of money to a separate to be creating the Department of Innovation, which I think Labour probably intend to do, but they're not quite there yet.
So I'll tell you my concern or my frustration. I come across a lot of amazing startups.
Yeah.
With some nominal ideas, as an advisor, mentor, and some great ideas, and they can't get money. And when they do get money, it's piddly for one or two good developers in the UK. And I feel like the whole setup of innovation, of VC funding, needs to change. The environment is not there. The government hasn't created a environment that grows good companies from the small eggs, from small acorns. But the small acorns are not growing into trees, and they need to grow into trees. Instead, they've been picked up and taken over to the US.
I agree with you, and I think, but bear in mind, we've got a new Labour government. They've got to get their feet under the table. I think that will change. I think what you're basically saying is we need a quick access to money for small businesses. Okay, yeah. Absolutely agree with you. I think fundamentally we need a bigger pot of money because fundamentally, if you have an organisation that start trying to grow, they need to grab that money quickly to grow. and we don't need to. Can I use the expression? We need to get rid of the committee culture and actually do the business, have more of the business execution culture in the UK. For 50 grand with Innovate UK, you're going to go through a committee. You go through any level, it's a committee decision.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree with you. We need to free up more money, but perhaps business needs to also look at the way it funds people. Perhaps VCs are not the right approach for the age we're in. Perhaps we should be looking more at looking to have more money in private equity rather than VCs. People actually, sorry.
So it sounds like you're talking about a post VC world.
Yes. Yeah, I think there'll always be venture capitalists. Of course, there'll always be conglomerates of people that want to put money into businesses to grow their investments. But I think we are in a period now where organizations and people need to make a stronger investment in what they're doing rather than just throwing a bit of cash at it and hoping for the best.
I read recently that the future is also family offices. And some of these family offices are going to get so big that the names will be as well known as BlackRock. That's what we're talking about. Family offices investing more.
Yes, I agree with that. And I think that we also see a lot more relation to funding as well, more community-led initiatives. Actually, the chairman of Innovate UK, remember his name, well, he beats me at the moment. He said, business of the future is fundamentally looked at as a community, not the shape that we have at the moment, where you get promotion, you go up a rank and title, you grow that business organically together as a community, as opposed to the structure we've got in the hierarchy at the moment.
I love that. And when I talk about how to motivate teams in the software world, to say the lead developers especially, and even the juniors need to have ownership to some degree, some form of say in how things are going to go or where the future is, because that is their incentive to do well. If it's just money,
the old adage, isn't it? It's the old adage. We used to have a structure where a CEO or the leader of the business, let's say a director of a business, the first, 1960s. Let's go back to the 1960s a moment. Where's the first person they'd go to if a product would sell? Okay, certain market. The first person they'd go to is their top salesperson and start talking to them about what's going on in the front line, not the product developer, the market analysis guy, not the predetermined spreadsheet guy on forecast. He'd go to the salesman. And this is what we need to go back to the future. Yeah, point. Because at the moment, we're a state of flux where if you look at it, right, you're a CEO of a business, you're starting to grow a business. Who's the first person you turn to? The first person you start speaking to are investors, okay? Product team, okay? They'll only take you so far. But as you're growing that business, you tend to then get molded, and we're all guilty of it. The CIO speaks to the CMO speaks to, and actually think about what's below them in that structure of that business. Most businesses are a bit like that. I think the only one that I can sort of think that's slightly different, I think Richard Branson run his businesses slightly different to that. Alan Sugar possibly runs things slightly different to that. But fundamentally, that's the corporate structure. And as I say, back to the future is the key to success. Thinking about how we used to run businesses, how we used to develop businesses, and who got rewarded for fundamentally winning and expanding those businesses.
Yeah, a game changer. I like that approach. So in terms of new technologies coming out or new applications of existing technologies, I know you're quite big in the energy space and the big data IoT space. We've had some conversations about where things are going. Anything you can share for the wider audience?
I'd like to gear it as the words, and I've written a white paper on this, the humanization of artificial intelligence. Because every time I speak to people, it's not about the data. It's about how can we get more data? How can we develop more data? How can we keep people in touch with the data? How can we touch points to engage people, feeding my algorithms? Whether that's a retail company or that's an oil and gas company, the biggest challenge, gas companies are very data heavy. However, most of the data is absolute rubbish. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And the point is, if you're going to produce the digital oil field, you need to be able to have touch points to that data to fundamentally continuously feed it. The biggest challenge, I think, for AI in the industrialized space is we don't have enough touch points, okay, feed the data. And that's what is really coming to fruition in my conversations with some of the world's engineering groups at the moment. So we're in a production line. If somebody touches a piece of equipment, I've got that data, those touch points, where they touch, how they look, how they feel, how they manufacture, the consistency of that manufacturing line. On an oil rig, if I do something like an operational risk assessment, where do I connect to the data? How do I find that data? And actually, trouble is with engineers to a certain extent, none of them want to use devices. They want that data collected, almost automated in a sense. How much information can I get about my customer from touch points within a car, for instance? Okay. What we're starting to see is just heavy industry is really interested in AI and the applications it can provide, things like predictive maintenance, etc. But one of the things that they are really concerned about is, how do I continuously feed that data? How do I connect to that data? How do I maximize real-time availability of that data? Because the quicker I can get that data and the algorithm reading that data, the more powerful my AI implementation is going to be.
And when it comes to AI around the big data, is the idea here that if we've got more data, then that has more visibility over CO2 emissions, and therefore we can make better decisions around usage? Or is there another use case?
There's all sorts of use cases. I mean, cases in heavy industrial, anything it surrounds the word predictive. Okay, predictive maintenance, predictive collection, predictive sustainability. Yeah, how do I fundamentally see my carbon delivery over the next 2, 3, 5 years? How do I carbon delivery? What is my sustainability forecast looking like? Okay, it's all information that heavy industrial organizations need to see much quicker than they used to be able to see it, because fundamentally, so somebody who's in a heavy industrial, like a big refinery business, it's all about basically how quickly they can show that information to third parties, their customers and authorities as well, so that they're getting ready for that real time of data.
When do you think it will have an impact on productivity of nations? Like, when will we see needle moving on general economy because of big data AI? Or is it something that just has to happen because of the effect on climate?
Well, I would have hoped we'd have had that conversation by now, and we'd all be scaling up quite nicely. Think that AI, I fundamentally think that sustainability is the driver to AI in the really big, heavy industrial projects, because sustainability, the reason for the application in so many areas, whether that's automotive, heavy industrial, all the big fields, right? Pharmaceutical, whatever. So if we look at the journey now of this government, who have now been in office 2 months, I think, and we're actually ahead of the game, I think that we'll start to see that replicated, that model, across the Western world pretty damn quickly, because it's the one thing, the green economy is the one thing that you can grow a second or third, maybe the fourth, actually it's probably more like the sixth industrial revolution on the back of it. So the answer to your question really comes as a result of what's going on politically at the moment. And I would say we'll start to see a really big change in attitudes regarding artificial intelligence and sustainability when they two pieces club together, I reckon next year in the UK. And then probably the following year, let's go 2026 to the rest of the world. Because basically there's a massive gap in world economies that they have to start. Because
I feel like we all need to see some good news soon when it comes to the next industrial revolution. We have this cool tech now with the AI stuff. Things don't seem to be getting better yet. And most of the conversations about AI taking away jobs. And then I think, why?
Well, the wrong conversation, because the companies that are really investing in AI starting to understand that AI can speed up their productivity, not to the detriment of getting rid of people, right? So there's areas of energy sector that are effectively doing those feasibilities, and actually they're seeing really good results from people being more productive in terms of scientists, in terms of production engineers, in actual processes better rather than getting rid of people.
Because right now there's a bit of doom and gloom when it comes to AI, with the sense of it's also because the tech market's depressed. So there's loads of good people who haven't got jobs. And then if people aren't developing products because there's no money, and then anyone associated with tech is out of work. So the marketing guys, the PR guys, the product developers, and therefore software engineers. So all these people are out of work. And then you've got these AI tools coming along and people on LinkedIn saying, you don't need developers anymore. You can use cursor.io. And everyone thinks we don't need to hire, and it all feels doomy and gloomy. That's very different to the other world of AI makes you more productive. We're going to create these awesome products. The world is heading towards this new industrial revolution. We're all going to get richer. We're all going to get happier, and it's all going to be great. And we're all going to work less hard for more money.
I think the business people need to work harder, to be honest with you. The impression they're giving to the supply chain, i.e. the tech developers and everything else. Basically, the bottom line is that it's like anything. You give somebody a tool where they're going to save money, okay? Right businesses will save money with it. The wrong businesses will invest it in a long-term strategy. Now, I'll tell you now, I'm sure you agree with this, Spence, a lot of AI tools that come across my desk, and I think to myself, what software products that you think to yourself, who's ever going to use it? Yeah? There's the ones that really think to yourself, actually, there's a real application for this. I'll give you an example. There's one guy at the moment I'm working with who's doing really, I can't talk too much, but I can give you the outlets, really interesting work around PTSD and developing a piece of AI that effectively that basically helps people live day to day with illness. Okay? That's a really unique piece of tech. And it's the interesting thing, like all these things that really make a difference, there's a connectivity to an IoT device, okay? You're continuously monitoring, doing things like now. That kind of AI, I see actually a massive health application for. It's going to make a difference to somebody's life. Then there's the AI that basically, oh yeah, I actually saw one for predictive sunglasses the other day, which was quite interesting, tone according to the sun, which is really, really fascinating in industry. But like Gucci or Rand, they're going to pick that up and run with it and do whatever they want with those brands anyway. But the thing is, there's one piece of AI that will make a difference, pieces of AI that just will not make a difference. Extraordinary, I'm sure you use ChatGPT from time to time, don't you, Spence?
Yeah, I use it a lot. I love it. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, don't we all love it? Yeah, we love it. Now, I'll tell you what, as a commercial person, when I'm doing my commercial work, that frees up about 2 days at least.
2 days a week.
Yeah. Which means I can get on with doing my presentations, doing my other work, spending time with you on podcasts. It frees up more time, okay? Makes me far more efficient. And that's how we should look at AI. We shouldn't allow it to... So I think there's a few things. And it's interesting. We're speaking to a couple of lawyers actually last week. I think we need to get the legislation in relation to AI and employment law, okay? Because we've got a situation at the moment. I'm sure you understand when you're starting to see at the moment people say, "Oh, we're going to cut this job and we're going to cut that job and we're going to do this, we're going to do that," and the whole world it's basically messing with everybody's heads because. Fundamentally, you touched on it earlier. We've got really qualified people who've got no work at the moment, right?
Yeah.
We need to find a way to balance employment law structure to still give people the enhancement to be able to say, yes, we want to employ people as well. Because at the moment, we're sort of rocking a hard plate because we've got this new technology that everybody, I mean, an example, I know of a holiday company who wants to check a holiday company who's got somebody in to develop some software to basically get rid of all of their sales staff to AI. That's what they want to do.
Okay.
Biggest mistake in the book.
Well, but as a business owner, I can understand why they want to do that. Why employ people if you don't need to employ them?
Yeah. I totally get what you're saying. You're saying I can totally get what they're saying, but these are people that don't actually understand artificial intelligence. They don't understand the capabilities of it once it starts reading algorithms, what it could do to your customer base. Yeah, it's like giving people a tool that they actually don't have. How can I put it? They don't understand how far it could take them forward or how far it could take them back.
But on that example of the sales staff in the business, in the holiday company, so let's say they employ 5 staff.
Yeah.
5 staff.
They have a much bigger team, actually. In this case, about 50.
Staff. But maybe now with AI, they're only employing 20 staff.
Yeah.
It's the other 30 staff.
Get made redundant. And then fundamentally don't have. The trouble is, how do they service the relationships with those customers that they had? Yeah. Artificial intelligence is not going to do that for you. Well, it could do, but different way of working. But exactly, instead of them thinking, I can put those other 30 staff in another area of the business to improve the business in a different area, I'm just going to get rid of them. That's the problem. So until we go out there and we actually educate the market on what AI can do for you and its limitations as well, we're going to have business leaders making these ridiculous decisions like that.
I'm just thinking in terms of the free market economy. So if you've got a number of companies doing the same thing, same market, all the sales teams, a couple of them start to use AI, reduce their sales staff. Others have AI, but now their sales staff really give extra for customer service and building up relationships. Who will do better? But is that betterness got to improve the margins to warrant the extra staff? And then maybe it's okay. I mean, we use lamplighters anymore, do we? There's a number of jobs that go and other jobs come. I think the nervousness is that those other jobs don't come.
Well, that is the nervousness. That edge that's the edge a lot of people are on right now. That's the edge a lot of people are on. And so so the employment market starts to think to itself, skills can I give people? So obvious skills are AI and Python skills to keep people, but then people are also nervous that AI and Python skills, that those within AI will start training themselves to program. So therefore, programmers are risk. So we're getting to a point. We're getting to that, as you say, that, or as I just said, that edge where we've got businesses thinking like this, the development's thinking like this, and we're not coming to a position for the economy because everybody is basic. Bottom line is, have a healthy economy, you need people to work. If you don't have people working in an economy, then that starts falling back on the state to fund them, right?
Yeah.
State's skint as well. So you've got a mess being created.
But just to throw an idea out there, right? Because I've got a theory. It's an untested theory. It's an unproven theory.
Is this the Spencer's theory of artificial intelligence? Is it economic devaluation?
Well, here's the thing.
Go on.
I think humans can't work 5 days a week anymore.
I agree.
I'll tell you why.
I agree.
Because we're working without realizing we're working during the week. So let's say in the past, someone went to park their car. What would you do? Just park up, park. Then there was parking meters. Okay, you coin in a machine, get a piece of paper out, or you tap a credit card. Now you have to go along, download an app, register, put your car in, get very stressed it's gone wrong. Takes half an hour. Next time you come back, okay, quick. Time after that, you have to update your app and hope you've got reception while you're parking the car. And what you find is millions of people have now wasted half an hour or an hour of their lives. And it's not just parking. It's any bills, it's insurance, it's electricity, anything we have to download, use another app, use another website. It's another layer of inefficiency that is not being measured. Schools, any parent with kids, the amount of admin you get from schools. In my day, when I was a child, come back, a letter put in the bag. That was it. Parents read it every so often. Everything was planned out. Now there's WhatsApp messages from the school groups and this and that. So I actually think we're working without being paid, which is why people can't handle a 5-day-a-week job because they're working in the evenings, they're working at lunchtimes just to keep the lights on.
Well, this is a much bigger conversation, but I look at it now. I'm on the old mobile. I'm getting messages from people Saturday, Sunday,
Yeah.
Friday night, any time, because we're 24/7 on these, right? There's no structure anymore. So really, when you start to add up the number of hours you're doing in a week, it's probably more like, rather than people get their 35-hour week contract, you're probably doing 70 or 80 hours without even knowing it. Yeah.
In the morning, what do you do? Check your phone, check your work emails. You go to the toilet, you check an email.
Constantly working. There's which is also having a huge to people's, not just their lifestyles, but also their health. It's changing people's health monitoring and health management, which is also replicating this huge problem of mental health there is in the Western world at the moment. Because fundamentally, if you look at your parents' generation, guess what they did? They went to work 9 till 5, came home, had their dinner, sat down, watched the telly or whatever, yeah, and basically did the same the next day, pretty routinely for 5 days. And then the weekend would come, you'd close down Saturday and Sunday. So that's gone. It's completely gone, or it's vanishing very, very quickly. Yeah? Look at my working life. When's the light? Up in the morning, go into my home office, start work. Immediately. There's no progression into the day anymore. Yeah? Don't commute anywhere anymore, most people. I mean, point in that. Okay? I think, look, massive benefits of tech are there to see, but also we have massive questions that we're not asking ourselves on what are the social consequences of what we built. And they're massive, and no one's addressing them. So I think there is an absolutely huge area of social search that needs to be done around what is happening to the human being this new era. Plus, we've got the evolution of artificial intelligence that hasn't really played out yet in the sequence of events.
It could go so many different directions, couldn't it?
Yeah, and then of course you've got sustainability, which is going to change everybody's life for sure. No
It's
longer.
not sexy, is it? Though it's not. Sustainability is not sexy. Talking about the carbon, it's all about removing how much you use, lessening how much you use.
Yeah, but
thinking
when I was but the truth is, when I started out, everyone, well, not started out, but when I started out, our parents' generation, everyone had 1 or 2 or even 3 motor cars sitting on their driveways. No one would even care about it. Oh, little Tommy's going to pass his test. Let's have 4 cars, right? Now, we go out, looking out the window here. I see driveways with 1 car on them again. Okay? People are slowly changing the way they're living. Okay? Here to the stations, a 15-minute walk? They're walking to the station. Yeah? I think we've got implementations locally of these bike schemes. Yeah? You go to the station, ride a bike to the station. People are changing the way they're living. The car is not such an integrated part of our lifestyle anymore. And I think we've also got to start to think to ourselves, how many devices have I got on my desk? I've got a Cisco WebEx here. I've got another monitor here. I've got another laptop here. I've got this. How much energy am I burning every time I turn on the computer? Yeah? All of that going into the next generation. And when I say the next generation, I think it begins probably now, and this point onwards, we're going to get more and more monitored to how much energy we're using. Yeah? It's going to be fundamentally part of our everyday process. Like you say, yeah, it's not sexy, but it's a reality. And it can be the steer, as I said earlier, it can be the steerer, the real steerer of all this tech we've got. Because fundamentally, with sustainability, everything else we don't have to do, right? With sustainability, it's something we probably have to do if we want to have a planet. We have to change the way we do things, our lifestyle. But coupled with everything else that's going on, with the AI revolution, the innovation revolution, and that sustainability revolution, how does humanity actually, especially in the Western world, how do we actually with it all? Huge change. It's like everything's changing really quickly, and none of us can actually keep up with it.
It could all fall flat on its head if we just solve the energy source issue. If we can harness the sun's power or the wind's power so there's an abundance of energy, then
that's obviously a massive conversation. And my biggest fear is if we look at the domestic car, we're going to start seeing a lot of the first electric vehicles. If we haven't seen them break down already, they're going to start breaking down in the next 2 years. Because fundamentally, the batteries only last for 10. And then you've got a £20,000 bill to replace it, or you go and buy another product for 20, 30. They got a bit cheaper, 20, 30, £40,000. That's the electric car. Hydrogen, we're probably about 20 years away from seeing it in vehicles. Might be a little bit less with a bit of luck.
we're always 20 years away.
What?
It's always 20 years away. When I was a kid, it was 20 years away.
It's still 20 years away.
Right?
So therefore, you know, we need to solve that problem. But fundamentally, we've got a gap. We've got a massive gap in what we can use. And no one's talking about that. We can carry on with it, or we'll have to carry on with the fossil fuel and take a risk. So I think that my view, honestly, is yes. I think Spence, you're absolutely right. But the conversation around that, I'll give you an example. I've got another guy at the moment. This is really fascinating. He's doing something called energy harvesting for trucks.
Ooh, trucks.
Yeah. I won't talk too much about it, but I'll give you. Basically, it's using the friction off the wheel of the truck.
Yeah.
Basically condensing that data. So basically, when those trucks arrive at a port, they can offload that energy to the port to actually use it in electric form. It's a great idea. Conceptually works, but it's going to take years of development to get there. And we're quite happy because we're the technology partner in delivering that. So there's obviously the AI and the predictive stuff off that as well. So yeah, these ideas, there's massive ideas out there. Lots of big brains with a lot of ideas. But the trouble is it comes back to that black and white, doesn't it? Where's the money for these projects? Every single level. It's the money. It's fundamentally the money. He's his first and second round. He probably needs about another 6 rounds to get to where he wants to get to. So, yeah, I pointed out at the beginning, innovation is great. Good ideas are fantastic. But fundamentally, you don't drive big ideas without money. And you need to be able to take cash from wherever you're getting it to and condensing it into that finance and that innovation process.
Yeah, it takes money. So, Kia, if you're watching this, it's time to unleash the gates of innovation.
Business also. We need help from business as well, not just Kia. He needs to basically do it and I think he needs to take their responsibility about the future as well, because they've had enough profit from the past, haven't they?
Oh, so I mean the businesses.
Yeah, businesses need to take their responsibility around the future, because fundamentally, a lot of them are, okay, being a bit harsh, okay? The point is, they need to sort of, this isn't just about them, it's about the planet and it's about the whole ecosystem. And we've got probably, the biggest problem is, I think we've got industry, we've got not enough investment going back in, okay? Smaller enterprises, need to speed that up. We need to be an aggressive way of big business and shareholders of those big businesses, wherever they are in the world, to say, right, okay, the 20%, 30% is going to go into R&D, and it's going to basically go, and you have to distribute that money further down the channel, because this is, to me, what we've got in terms of hold up, in terms of financing the next round of tech.
Yeah, that. And we need experiments. We need to be it's got to be a culture of experimentation.
Yeah.
Okay to fail. Because you tried something, you learned something.
Absolutely fine to fail. But let's the two things here are we absolutely need to drive AI, data development, but we also need to we desperately need to increase our
Love it. Jonathan, thank you so much for coming on to my podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.